This morning we continue our look at the shorter catechism. We're coming to question number 92, which is printed in your bulletin and on the screen behind me. The question reads, what is a sacrament? And the answer is rather brief. A sacrament is an holy ordinance instituted by Christ, wherein by sensible signs Christ and the benefits of the new covenant are represented, sealed, and applied to believers. We're looking at the idea of a sacrament and what that means for the church. Today, we begin to consider the fact that the sacraments come before us as sensible signs. That is to say that the Word of God comes to us audibly. We hear God speak to us, so it is very much a spiritual experience as we listen to what God has to say. But in the sacraments, God shows us in a visible way, in a tangible way, what He has done for us in Christ. So there is the proclamation of the Word of God, which is invisible, spiritual, appealing to the heart. And then there is also the sensible signs of the sacraments given to us, whereby we can actually see in symbolic form what God has done for us in Christ. We see once more how God stoops to us and ministers to us where we are at. He understands that we are both body and soul. And in our flesh, we depend in great measure on things that we can see, touch, handle, taste, and things like that. And so in order to make redemption as graphic and personal as possible, God has given to us these signs of the covenant, these sacraments, whereby as we see, for example, the breaking of the bread as representative of the breaking of the body of Christ, and the pouring of the cup, and the drinking of that cup as the shedding of the blood of Christ and our participation in His death. We have in these physical ways a depiction of what Christ has done for us personally. Our baptism, the outward sprinkling of water upon us, is an outward visible sign of cleansing and washing, which typifies that which God does within the soul, which you can't see. But it's the work of God by His Spirit to wash away our sins, and so to baptize us spiritually in Christ. And so we are presented with sensible signs. It's not so much intelligible signs, that's not the idea, but rather things which we can see, feel, and touch, and taste, and so forth. And so, considering a sacrament in those terms, one of the first things that the Catechism reminds us of is that the sacraments are a holy ordinance instituted by Christ. It's not something that we're free to take and observe or not as we please. It's an ordinance of the church. It's an ordinance, more specifically, of Christ. It's His law. He gave it to His disciples and said that this is what you should do. In Matthew 28, we see that Christ authorized His disciples to baptize the nations in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And so there, Christ ordained that we should go and apply the sign of the covenant, the new covenant, baptism, to those who are entering into Christ's church. And then, as Christ gathered His disciples in the upper room before His crucifixion, He gave the ordinance of the Lord's Supper and said to His disciples, "Take, eat, this is my body which is given for you." And then He passed around the cup and gave that to them as well, and He commanded that they should observe it until He comes. And so we have a command from Christ, an ordinance given to the church, and so as part of our regular worship. We do see that it is an ordinance of Christ. It's not designed by the church. It's not something that the church imposes upon its people. It's that which Christ Himself expects of us. And so the authority of the sacrament is not in the local church or the pastor or the session or anything like that. The authority is from Christ Himself. So, being mindful of that, we're taught that Christ and the benefits of the new covenant are given to us as represented, sealed, and applied to believers. So when we take part in these sacraments, the benefits of our salvation, which again are spiritual, the forgiveness of sins, the imputation of Christ's righteousness, the indwelling of the Spirit, our adoption as sons in God's family, our union with Christ, all these things are represented to us and sealed to us by the sacrament. And so, as we go through the motions of a baptism, we are reminded that this individual is being baptized, either as a baby or as an adult, is being joined to Christ, is united to Him in His death. And so Christ is His substitute at that cross. Christ bore the sins of this individual there at the cross. As we take part in the communion, we also are reminded that we are united to Christ in His death, and we continue to live out of His death, such that we are to daily put to death the deeds of the old nature, the old man, and to live a new life for Christ. And so the outward sign is a representation of the benefits of the new covenant. These benefits are sealed to us in these ordinances. As we take part in them, God secures us in Christ. He guards our hearts through these ordinances so that we are kept pure for Him. It's as though some of you perhaps at this time of year are taking preserves, fruit or what have you, vegetables, and putting them in jars and sealing them for a future time. And that's kind of what God does with these sacraments. They seal for us that which God has given to us, the benefits of the covenant. And they are ours for the future, especially for that great time when we enjoy the fulfillment of these things in eternity. And also through these sacraments, the benefits of redemption are applied to us. As we take part in baptism, especially an infant child, that infant child may not at that moment be a believer in Christ, or may not be regenerated at that point. That regeneration, that conversion may occur some years afterwards. But nonetheless, the sign of baptism is applied to that child to be a ministry to the child's heart, to speak to the child of its need for washing from sin and union with Christ. And so the sign is a witness to the child of God's intention for that child that it be converted. And so it is a gospel witness to the child. And then the sacrament of the Lord's Supper ministers grace to us as we take part in that communion meal. We have fellowship with Christ. We are drawn closer to Him, and the Spirit of God dwells within us and applies the benefits of that communion meal to our hearts. And so our faith is strengthened. We are quickened in our walk before Christ. Our love is improved for Christ and for each other. And so then the benefits of the covenant are applied to our hearts. And so in this way we are introduced to the sacraments, and we'll take up the discussion further in the weeks to come.